If you move into New Zealand and you tell people, they're going to say this to you. They're going to say, oh, you won't be able to get that when you move to New Zealand. Oh, you won't be able to find that. You're going to really miss that.
And, you know, he'd say to you, do you miss anything? And I was like, to be honest, mate.
Yeah.
And he looked at me like, sort of crestfallen as if like, what's wrong with ours?
In this week's show, we're going to share with you 7 things that people told us there was no way we were going to be able to find those in New Zealand and discover if they were right.
Got it.
Welcome to the NZ Ahead podcast. Everything you need to know about moving to and living in New Zealand.
There's a whole world here.
So nice to be with you again.
You'll be right.
Kia ora. We call it Aotearoa around here, bro.
We are your hosts, Liz and Brian.
Amazing New Zealand in the southern seas.
See, that's where I belong. That's home.
Hello and welcome to the NZ Ahead podcast. I'm Liz.
And I'm Brian.
And today we are here with you from Dunedin, from our Airbnb in Dunedin.
Yeah.
We're so excited about that.
We have to say we're actually Port Chalmers, Dunedin area.
Yeah.
But Port Chalmers just outside of Dunedin. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Here we are.
Is Port Chalmers not in Dunedin then?
Well,
it's part of Dunedin.
Someone out there's just going to say, hey, that church is in Port Chalmers.
So today we are super excited. We're bringing you a podcast titled What You Will Not Miss When You Come to New Zealand. And the reason we're bringing that to you is because we're Liz and Brian, husband and wife. We have lived in New Zealand for 12 years. We moved over here from the UK 12 years ago.
Yep, we did.
And we've done so much ranting and raving about the things that we missed.
Yeah, I know.
Since we've been in New Zealand. And we're like, oh, you can't get that, you can't get this. You only need to go back and look at our past videos and you'll see us having a little moan about the things that we can't get. And we've come to Dunedin and we're like, oh my God. We're going to look like idiots.
Yeah.
So we better just start making another video.
Yeah, there's a reason why they call it the Edinburgh of the South.
Yeah.
There really, really is.
So just to give you a backstory, we have left Taranaki for our holidays. We've come down to Dunedin for 14 days and we are in love with the place.
Yep.
But that is going to be another story. We're going to make you a vlog about that.
Yeah, we've done vlogs. We've just finished a vlog today, so it's getting a little bit late now, and you know, so we might start to lose the light, and we'll get a little bit dark.
It's going to be atmospheric.
So, atmospheric down south.
Yeah, because we desperately wanted to bring you this podcast from this balcony where we're staying, because it's got that beautiful church in the background.
There it is. Where are we? That way?
Yeah, we're like, still have time. We've been really busy today, been doing like loads of stuff, vlogging and stuff. And we're like, let's just get back and do this. So please bear with us. If the light does start to go a bit dodgy, know that we're doing this because we wanted to do it for you.
Yes, because that church, 24-hour church, as in it chimes 24 hours a day.
Oh, it might chime while we're doing this. What time is it?
Time is 8:36.
Okay, so if we get
we'll try and get done by.
If we get it
if
done
you wait
before
till the
9.
end, you're going to hear it go clang at 9 o'clock, and it'll probably be getting dark by then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sunset at 9:15 today.
We said to each other, let's be super quick. Stop the waffle. Let's just get on. So, number one thing that you will not miss when you come to New Zealand.
Dogs.
Is a bloody barking dog. No, is architecture.
Yes.
Architecture by...
Yeah. And I have missed architecture.
Me too.
We moved to New Zealand, and even I've worked with architects, designing green schools and things like that. And, you know, he'd say to you, do you miss anything? And I was like, to be honest, mate, I miss the architecture.
Yeah.
And he looked at me like sort of crestfallen as if like, what's wrong with ours?
Yeah.
And it's like... I just mean like Victorian-y style, Georgian architecture,
Pretty
Edwardian,
architecture.
Tudor, just those old ancient buildings, like, you know?
Yeah.
And coming to Dunedin...
Well, we came to Dunedin.
Reborn.
Hallelujah. Right, we came to Dunedin.
This Airbnb is built in the 1880s.
Yeah,
1880.
we came to New Zealand. We came to Dunedin, and we've booked in this Airbnb. Well, that was the first bit of a shock because it was built in 1880.
Yes.
Born in 1880.
We'll give you a buzz around on some back footage or whatever, you know.
And it's just this beautiful flat. Well, that was lovely because it's like, oh my God, like this is like being, you know, back in the 1800s. Like, you know.
Just like, when our first house we bought was in a place called Jubilee Street.
Yeah.
And so it was Victorian. 1887, I think that was built.
So in New Zealand, like, let's just give you a bit of a backstory here because we moved to New Plymouth in Taranaki, okay? And we have lived there for the last 12 years. We've seen lots of New Zealand, but we've never been as far south as Dunedin.
Yep.
And so we left in England. We left. We've lived in a 300-year-old cottage. We've lived in a Victorian house, like Bri just said, and we've lived in a 1920s.
And we lived in a Georgian bank, which was built in the 1700s.
So we're used to sash windows and Georgian windows and architrave and picture rail. And you come to New Zealand, where we've been living, and we built our own house. It's super modern. It's lovely.
Yep.
But unless you like this. In New Zealand, there's things called old villas, and they're old. They're like
they are the 1920s and things
like bungalow things, aren't they?
They're a villa. They're a single-story house. 9 times out of 10, single-story house.
We don't call them villa in England, though, do we?
Yes, we did.
We don't.
No, you do. You do call them villas.
No, you don't.
Yes,
a villa is like a big bloody palace thing.
No, you had small villas which were like almost like summer houses. Like they're double-fronted with the same sort of shape, but they were built of stone.
I've never heard it called villa. Because when someone said, "Oh, she lives in a villa," I was literally expecting this, ta-da! And it was like,
like this huge palace.
Yeah, it was. That's what I was expecting. And it was a villa in New Zealand. Well, I think a villa in New Zealand is classed as a pretty little
small sort of colonial style house.
That's it, Bri. Colonial. That's it. So anyway, we come to Dunedin, and everywhere around you, oh my God, it's just gorgeous. The architecture.
It blows you away. It really does, because it's like, even back in England, you can go to places that were literally destroyed in the war, and they rebuilt it, and they left, if there was a section of a terraced house blown apart from bombs and things like that, they would just kind of leave it and build something else in between, because they didn't have the money. Some places, like the city centres, they would rebuild and make it as good as they could, in the 1940s. But here, it's just untouched.
It is.
It's like a museum almost of these buildings that are just gorgeous,
We went to this place called Oamaru. Dickens, what's the film called?
Oliver Twist or something like that, or
and you see
Great Expectations or
and
something.
they're all gaslights and lovely carved doors and like big brass knockers, and you're like, oh, and you long for that.
Yeah.
You long for it. If you've been used to it, you come to a new country and you long for it.
Yeah.
And it was like, we walked down that street, it's like, oh my God, it's just like someone
there's a small
washing
section
you
at the port,
with a warm
and it's just
blanket.
it's
just
fantastic.
lovely.
You're just like, I just didn't know it existed in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I bet you a lot of people in New Zealand don't even know it exists until you come to Dunedin.
I know. And the opera house there in Oamaru, it was, do you remember, you said, oh, look at the opera house.
And just because they've got the square, which is the main sort of town. It's like, it's not tiny by any stretch of the imagination, but, and then the small section around where the port was.
Going to get a train now,
We're going to get a train coming down here.
You won't miss trains.
You won't miss trains. That's another thing you won't miss. This thing's coming down a hill, and it's going to go so slow because it's got its brakes on its engine running.
Anyway, we'll keep...
Anyway, there we go.
Oh, look.
There you
go.
It's
a drama.
We did a vlog. We just done a vlog the other week, didn't we? Where we said there's no real trains, and there's one.
I know.
Trolling around the back of us,
And it's going to be super loud.
Yeah, and it'll have hundreds of.
Should we just wait until?
No. Keep it going. You can hear me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
how brilliant's that?
I know.
There you go. A train in New Zealand, everybody. Well, you just heard it coming down the line. And it's got it's full of containers because we're next to Port Chalmers is a port, and it's a big port.
It's a beautiful, beautiful port. This is the first time we've been to. Well, not Brian. Brian's been to Dunedin.
I came on
business
business,
but this is like we came and we were like literally gobsmacked. And I just want to apologise publicly. For ever saying, I miss architecture in New Zealand. Yeah. Why did no one say to us, well, I'll tell you what, Liz, get your ass down to Dunedin then.
I know.
Get down to Oamaru
I did
and
say
have a
to you,
look at
didn't I? I remember phoning you from Dunedin. I was standing outside. There's this place called the Octagon, and there's a cathedral there. And I'm like, I did not know they had buildings like this in New Zealand.
It's
the mason,
lovely.
The masons that must have come over from England, Scotland, wherever they came from, they're just top notch. They were just fantastic.
It is. It's just
proper made.
You can probably tell that we're very full of it, but literally we're here right now on a holiday in Dunedin.
But we lived in Bath in England, Liz, and everything. There's local stone here, which is almost identical to Bath stone.
Well, that white stone in Oamaru, it's just. I know that's not Bath stone.
Yeah, but there's white stone, but that's that yellow stone.
And they do the cheese.
So
not only have you got lovely architecture, you've got in the town is the cheese factory that makes
The
the
Whitestone
best
cheese
cheese
factory,
ever in
yeah.
the world.
It's unreal,
so it's
isn't
like
it?
a win-win situation. Anyway, right, we're moving on because we're going to lose the light. Right,
Yep.
number 2, which is quite similar, so we can skim over this, is the oldness.
Yep.
So it's when you tell people that you're moving to New Zealand, they'll go, oh, it's such a new country, there's no history, there's no oldness there, there's no deep roots. You've got the Māori history,
Yeah.
and that is beautiful.
That's super deep-rooted.
But
'cause
it's-
that's
it-
like,
yes.
they're the original people
Yeah.
here, aren't they? Like, you know?
But it's new to us, that, Bri.
It's
We're
new
learning
to us
about it.
with us being European.
Yeah.
we're learning about that culture,
Yeah.
and it's such
So
an amazing culture.
It is.
So, you know how connected they are to the earth.
Yeah.
It just blows me away. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it really does.
But at the same time, that is something that, like you say, we're learning as
Yes.
as newbies. We're learning about the Māori
Yes.
culture,
Yeah.
but it's not in our blood.
It's not
you
in
know,
our blood.
no,
We're-
it's
'cause we're-
not
yeah,
because
we're- yeah.
that's
we
just the way
are
it is.
European as such.
But
yeah.
you go to, like, at the back of here where we're sitting right now is an old cemetery, and I've never seen. There's one other cemetery that I can say in the world that I've been to that blew me away, and that was in Florence. I don't know if we've got any video of it. Maybe we can.
We
put some
probably
up.
have actually, but yeah.
But
yeah.
this cemetery
that was
we
the home
went
of Pinocchio, wasn't it?
Pinocchio's dad, yeah.
Yeah.
We went to the cemetery, and it's just underneath all these pine trees and all these, and it's just.
Overlooking Florence, yeah. Oh,
No,
this one up here,
this
sorry.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not Pinocchio.
Look out, there it is.
I'm still thinking Pinocchio here.
Move on, Brian. Yeah, and it's just old, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
just, you know, there's people that have died and they're like from the 1800s, and it's just, it's that oldness that you think, oh, he was from Scotland, oh, they were from England, you know. There's something about that you can't explain it, and you will know what I'm talking about because every single one of you will have it.
Yeah.
It's that deep-rooted, that's my history, you know, that's my
Yes.
people,
Yeah.
that's my blood, you know.
Yeah, that's
it's
it.
just.
Yeah. And they had the guts to get in a sailing ship
Yeah.
back then and sail. This was the furthest destination anyone could ever go. And back then, that was it. You know, you had the new worlds to go to, and this was the furthest, and people chose this to come to.
No wonder.
You just think, oh yeah,
They've
but
heard about the pies.
that's it.
The cheese.
Yeah, cheese rolls.
No, I know, Brian, because we went to the Pioneer
Settlers Museum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were reading all the stories about it, and like they were in this. You can go and look for yourself, but it was like they were slept in these bunks in these cabins, didn't
Yes,
they? And this
yeah.
central galley where they cooked their food, and they were on this shit for months and months, like you
Yeah.
know. And people were. There were some love stories, like people got together and got married, but people lost children and all things like that.
Well,
Anyway,
they did back
it's
then,
just
didn't they? It's just
yeah.
like that was it, yeah. And even in that Settlers Museum, there's a whole corner dedicated to Taranaki.
I know. And again, we were
Yeah.
drawn to that.
I was just like, I don't believe
I
this. And it's
know.
basically from Parihaka, which is the one of the pas in Taranaki that they had, because they were just, you know, a peaceful fight against the British, basically. And it just to see the hat with a white feather in it, and you just think, wow.
Yeah.
And the mountain, it was
But
just...
you know what?
yeah.
Going back to that history thing, this is really weird because we're in Dunedin. Like I say, we're from Taranaki. We lived there 12 years. And Brian said to me, Liz, come and look at this. And it was in the corner of the museum,
Yeah.
and it was all about the Māori that have been taken from Taranaki and put into prison in
put
Dunedin.
into prison and
Yeah.
made to make roads and things like that. These,
And
you know,
something
these great
inside
warriors,
me
like, you know?
was like, oh, it was just, you know?
Yeah.
Why did you take
Why
our
did you-
people
yes.
from Taranaki?
Leave them in Taranaki, for God's sake,
It's
yeah.
weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is,
It's
yeah.
weird what a place does to you when you've been there long enough and just...
Yeah. Yeah, but that's it. You get that rooted feeling
You
that you
do,
say.
you
It's
do.
like, you know, it's the deep roots, isn't
It
it? Like,
is,
you know?
and it's...
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so...
Oldness, it's here if you want to look for it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And while we're talking about oldness, the other thing that me and Brian have said, oh, you won't be able to get this when you come to New Zealand. I mean, we're putting our hands up here. We're being very honest with you.
Yeah.
We've said a number of times, you can't get a good...
If you dream of moving to New Zealand, then you are going to love what I'm about to share with you. 12 years ago, when me and Bri emigrated to New Zealand, we were scouring the internet, trying to find any information that we could about what our life would be like when we got here. And basically all we had was YouTube. So we made this vow. We said, when we get to New Zealand, we're going to create something that we can share with others that answers those questions that you're so desperate to know about. Like, what is your life going to be like when you get here? And that's what I'm here to offer you today. We have created a 5-day free, absolutely free video guide that shows you what it's really like to live in New Zealand. This stuff is unique and it is fabulous. You are not going to find it anywhere else on the internet. And like I say, it's absolutely free. You'll be sent a video every day for 5 days and you will know what it's like in New Zealand. So head over to the website. It's www.nzahead/free. One more time, that's www.nzahead/free. You are going to love it.
We've said a number of times you can't get a good pub in New Zealand.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Where were we the other night?
I know. In a Victorian pub.
Yeah.
In New Zealand.
And do you know how
drinking Kilkenny or British beer, English beer,
Yeah.
and they're all there.
And do you know how I knew it was a proper pub, Bri?
Go on.
There was a couple of blokes down there.
No one was on the phone.
I'm pointing down there. Well,
Yeah.
no, obviously no one was on the phone. You don't
No.
go to the pub and you're
On-
our age,
on your
you're on your
phone.
phone. But there was a
They were
couple of
drinking.
blokes and they were standing up.
Yes,
And I
that's
just
right.
thought,
yeah.
did you
On the
see
bar.
that? Yeah. And they were like that, standing
Yeah.
up, drinking their beer. And I thought,
Yeah, but I went in. I said, "You
Oh,
said
that's
you
a
wanted to
proper
sit down." I
pub.
said, "I'm standing up."
well, it's because you're a proper man.
Yeah.
You
There
wanted
you
to be
go.
like the big boys.
Yeah.
But I said, no, Brian, sit down. You need to rest
You
your
don't go
legs.
to a pub and sit down. Stand up at the bar. Put a hole in the bar with your elbow.
Oh, Brian. But yeah, so we went to this pub in Dunedin and it was great, wasn't it?
It was great. It was, yeah.
Yeah.
And just to go in there and just see an old pub style thing. It's not a bar with televisions. There wasn't one TV
It
screen in
wasn't.
there.
And it was all these chandelier. Oh,
Hello,
noisy
Mr.
little blackbird.
Yeah, he's just up here.
There was all this dog bird.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope you're going to be able to hear this. Chandeliers hanging down and it was just lovely, wasn't it?
It was a posh pub. It
yeah,
really was a posh
it wasn't
pub.
like spit and sawdust.
No,
but
it was a
I bet
a
there
pub.
are pubs that like that you can go to.
Well, you can
Dunedin.
see that, yeah. You can see some of them, the way they're painted and everything. You think, yeah.
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 Right, before we move on, if you are watching this video
Yep.
and you are interested in moving to New Zealand and you
believe
are
that,
louder
yeah.
than a blackbird and you love New Zealand as much as we do, we offer a free 5-day video guide all about moving to New Zealand and what life is like in New Zealand. It's absolutely free.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Brian made it because basically when we came over 12 years ago, we couldn't find soddle. We couldn't find anything.
Couldn't find anything. We had no one over here or
No,
anything like
and we
that.
were like,
yeah.
if only we knew someone that could tell us certain things about the country. So we did that for you. We made this free 5-day guide. If you haven't signed up for it, it's www.itsadrama.com/ILoveNZ. I will put a link up above, wherever it's going to be.
Be up here.
But yeah, go and sign up for that because it's absolutely free and it's fabulous.
Yeah.
So, right, moving on. Number 4 thing you will not miss when you come to New Zealand is internet speeds.
Yep.
Brian told me to put this. I don't know what you're going to say, so take it away, Brian.
Yeah, so this is me working off the top of my head because Dunedin was the government or Spark, whoever it was, turned around and said, we are going to make a town or a city in New Zealand a gigatown. All right?
Gigatown?
A gigatown.
What's that mean?
That means it's going to have super fast internet.
Ooh.
And Dunedin won.
Did it?
Yeah. And it was the first
Go
time.
Dunners.
I remember when I came on this business trip and I logged onto their internet and I was used to sort of getting 25 megabits a second and it was like clang, it went off the clock.
Did it?
And I was like, wow. And I said, what have you got? Have you got, and he's like, no, we're a gigatown. We won. And I was like, shit, you did, you won, the gigatown. And it's just like, so Dunedin has got super fast internet.
Right.
Yeah, it's really quick.
Don't tell Sonny that, our boy,
Yeah.
because he'll be down here like a flash, won't he?
Yeah, he would, yeah.
So does
yeah.
that just mean that you can, when you're logging on to things, it gets to it quicker?
It's
or?
just, hey, you just think you're at the end of the earth down here. You are. There's one more city further south, and that's Invercargill. But this is a university city. It's big for its university.
It'd have to be
It's got
fast
a
internet
big
then, wouldn't
university.
it, Brian?
Yeah, so
they
it's
wouldn't-
just like
they wouldn't put up with slow internet. The
and
students.
it's just super quick.
Yeah.
So it is.
So you won't miss that when you come. Right,
Yep.
number 5, cliffs.
Yep.
You will not miss cliffs when you come to New Zealand, as in cliffs, not like Cliff Richard.
No.
Cliffs, as in cliffs on the,
Not
by
Cliff
the
Rape
sea.
Cliff.
No, by the sea. That jagged cliff, Cornish, beautiful.
Oh, it's just, we went for this walk today.
We were
and,
raised in
you know,
Cornwall in England, by the way, so...
Yes, we both were
We're
raised in
used to
Cornwall, so
cliffs.
we love cliffs and out there, and it's just here, down here in the south, there are stacks of cliffs.
There are.
Yeah, there's lighthouses and these craggy points. We went to a place called Nugget Point today, and they've got these nuggets of rock sticking out there in the sea, and a lighthouse at the it's
and cliffs,
amazing.
sheer cliffs with all rocks at the bottom and
you're above
been
the seagulls. You can see the seagulls flying around,
the
and you're above
penguins
them.
and
It's
the
just
sea
the
lions.
It's paradise.
Oh, people, honestly, if you haven't been here, you are in for such a blimmin' treat.
Yeah.
You really are. Because
As a friend of ours, Gordy, said, you can smell Antarctica from down here.
I know.
You know, you
yeah.
can smell that coldness.
I don't know if
chilly,
you're watching this,
but-
Gordy, but you said that to me, and you're like, you can go so far south and you can smell Antarctica, you smell the penguins, and you know when someone says something
And
to
it
you and
hits
it
you, doesn't
really
it?
sticks with
Yeah.
you, and I was like, I have been saying to Brian on this trip, I want to be able to smell Antarctica. I want to be able to
We've had a
smell
few
the
cold
penguins.
days down here.
Yeah.
This is like we're just coming into summer, so we're just the back end of spring. And I think today it said on the forecast 16 degrees, but the car was saying 22, 23.
Well, what is
and
it now? We're
was warm.
sitting out here, look.
Yeah, I can
Hard
tell.
as, aren't we?
There go.
Taranaki
Let's see what
hardcore.
it says. It is
9 o'clock at night.
14 degrees.
14 degrees.
Yeah.
Not southern softy Brits, Bri.
no, and there's a wind blowing, but hey,
It's bloody freezing. I've got my blanket over my knees.
yeah, you can't see below. Okay,
Hot water
can't
bottle
see
quilts.
here.
So yes, you will not miss cliff. If you're like,
No.
I want to walk on a cliff, just come to Dunedin
Yeah.
and go down to Nugget Point and just walk along all there. It's
Yeah,
just,
we did a podcast about North Island versus South Island.
I am so embarrassed about that.
So Liz did say something about North Island's got better beaches, and it's like, my goodness, I think we got that wrong. We did, didn't we?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm surprised. Yeah,
Just-
because
th-
I
these
didn't
just-
know.
These are paradise beaches. The white beaches, just, all right, might be a bit chilly in the water because it's, the Southern Pacific or
We'd only
whatever.
been to like Nelson and, Kaikoura and through to Queenstown and
And up the...
Hokitika we'd been to, hadn't we?
That's sort of, up the west coast.
And so I honestly, hand on heart, did not know that the South Island had such stunning beaches
Yeah.
as we've seen today.
Yeah.
White sand, smooth, crystal clear, turquoise water.
Yeah.
It
With
is
gorgeous
like
waves
paradise.
crashing on the bit.
Oh,
It's just
it
beautiful.
really is. And all I could think was, oh my God, what did I say on that podcast about they had no beaches? I was so embarrassed. So sorry about that.
Yeah, so cliffs and beaches, yes, you won't miss that.
Exactly. Right,
Yeah.
number 6. You will not miss when you come to New Zealand, and you will not miss this
No,
when
you
you come
won't.
to New Zealand, is Asian food.
Yeah, for sure. You won't, will you? You just won't.
You know what? Someone said to us, I'm not going to name who in case they're watching, but a member of our family said, I wouldn't really like to go to New Zealand because we're really into Asian food, and I like to be able to get my Asian food here in the UK.
He is Australian, though, isn't he?
And I'm thinking, I have never... It's abundant in New Zealand.
Yeah.
We're having Indian tonight, actually. I might bring
Yeah.
it out in a minute to show you, but we've ordered an Indian because we're doing this podcast. We're like,
Don't
we
talk
don't want
about
to cook.
food.
Oh, yeah.
You're just like, when you're hungry.
Exactly. And so we've ordered an Indian tonight, but Indian, Thai, Vietnamese, Malaysian, Japanese. There's so much Asian food that you can get here, isn't there,
Yeah,
Brian?
there is. Yeah.
And it's good.
It's good. It's really good.
We've been
Yeah.
all over Asia, and this
Yeah.
food is good. So
Yeah, people want to move here, and so when they come here, they bring these. They're going to bring a speciality type chef
Yeah.
with them to cook. So it's bloody good.
we've got a private New Zealand community. It's called New Zealand Calling Community. It's a paid-for community. It's not really a community. It's more like a family. At the moment, there's 100 of us in there, and it is like a big family. It's just beautiful, and we all talk and help each other make that move to New Zealand. So me and Brian are here to, be with the people that are making the move over to New Zealand and answer their questions. And I'll never forget this one lady. I think it was Ariel. If you're listening, Ariel, you said, what's the Asian food like over there? And I remember thinking, I always wanted to say to you, there isn't any. And then when you came over, it'd be like, look at all these restaurants, you know, that...
We go to a restaurant in New Plymouth. It's called Cinnamon.
Oh, yeah, big
And,
shout out, yeah.
You know, we went in there and I could see these pictures of Udaipur, which is up in Rajasthan. And, you know, I said, hey, we've been there. And she said, oh, my husband was the head chef at the Lake Palace.
Yeah.
And you're like, the Lake Palace, what, that huge hotel? And he's like, yeah. And he's here in New Plymouth cooking our dinner.
Yeah.
And we were like, and he's
I
like,
know,
yeah.
I
and,
know.
And it was just like, wow.
Yeah.
And then, you know, is the sun comes out and he goes, oh, this, you know, we really try and keep this authentic. It's like not too much sugar in it, and, you know, for the sort of Western sort of flavours, and it's just one of the best Indian restaurants I've been
And
to.
like you say,
So-
Udaipur, with
Yeah.
so in the middle of Udaipur is this
It's
lake.
the lake city, yeah.
Yeah, and on the middle of the lake is this palace that no one can afford to go to because it's just so special and posh and expensive.
Yeah.
And he was the head chef,
Yeah.
and now he's in New Plymouth
Yeah.
cooking our tea.
Doesn't get better.
It doesn't.
No.
You know, when you're like...
I flew my drone
I can't
in
believe
Udaipur.
this. I can't believe it. And no, the food is top notch. So
Yeah.
big shout out to you, Cinema.
Oh, 9 o'clock.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, you just got to listen to that. Like, it's even got a light on the clock.
And we're sleeping in the bedroom just there, and that clock is lit up all night, and it's really bright, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's just lovely because it just takes me back to being a lad in England, because I lived in a village that had a clock just
Yeah.
like that, and you could just hear it, bang. But it used to finish at 10 o'clock at night.
And the lady who was renting the Airbnb to her, she said, oh, the clock's not keeping you awake, is it? And I was like, oh, if only you knew.
Yeah.
Like, you know, literally, we've opened our window. We've opened the sash window in the bedroom so we can hear it.
we can hear it, yeah.
So it's going on all night, so yeah. Right, okay, so
Right,
number
moving on.
7, and our
Yeah.
last one now. How are we doing for time? 26
Yeah.
minutes. Right, number 7, and we've written... You won't miss family, but we need to explain that because
Yeah.
it's not that you won't miss family when you move to New Zealand. Of course you will miss family. But what you won't miss is that feeling of being looked after by the friendly people
Yeah, you
here.
won't feel alone.
You won't feel alone.
Because
And-
they do, you know, if you connect with them, that's it, isn't
Yeah.
it? They will connect back with you.
I just want to tell you a story. So we've just driven out to Nugget Point today, and we went to, what's the name of that place? You said it. I couldn't pronounce it.
Balclutha.
Balclutha. Well done,
Balclutha.
right? And so this was like a typical Kiwi cafe, right? So to give you a bit of backstory, when
Cafe number 55.
when we told our YouTube community that we were coming to the South Island, they said, you have got to go and have a cheese roll.
Yeah.
You've got to go down to the South Island and have this cheese roll. So what we did, I looked around and found this typical, the most Kiwi cafe I could find. And anyway, it was in this place that Bryce just said. And I walked in, and it was fine until I opened my mouth and they realised that I was English, because that's another story. But as soon as you start speaking in New Zealand and they hear your accent, you can feel a little bit of like, oh, you're not local, like, you know, so...
Yeah. You're not from this neck of the woods.
No, and she was, and I don't want to say she was an older lady, because she wasn't. She was only about 60 or something like that, but she was like a motherly sort of person, like, you know, not just a nice woman, you know.
Yeah.
And at first she was like, oh, what can I get you, you know, and quite, not, a bit standoffish a little bit, because we weren't local and we were there, and I said, oh, you know, we haven't tasted the cheese roll. And she said, and she melted. She was like, you haven't tasted the cheese... This is my Kiwi accent. You haven't tasted the cheese roll, she said.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a lot softer, the Kiwi accent down here.
It
really
is.
is.
It's not like the Taranaki,
No,
is it?
and there's the roll in their R's and things, but it's... Yeah,
So she
it's
brings
soft.
out the cheese rolls and she puts them on the table, and then she said to us, oh, aren't you from here? And we said, no, we're from New Plymouth. And we've talked about some waterfalls that we wanted to go to, and we were like, oh, we're thinking about going to some waterfalls, but we don't know if they're too far away. And she just like took us under her wing, and she brings the map out, and she's like, oh, you know, you guys
You're
need
going
to
to
do
go to Awaka,
this.
and then you go past that, and you take a left, and...
It was all of a sudden like being round at your auntie's, you know, when you go round at your auntie's and they look after you, and that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And I just thought, here we are, two British people in the South Island. You've never met us before in your life, and you're warming to us. So when we were talking about this show and what to say, that's what we said. We were like,
but that's it. If you meet
it's
them,
a very friendly place.
If you're on a level with them, they will be on a level with
Yeah.
you. They really will, like, you know. And that's the thing.
Going back to the British accent, I don't know, it depends where you are from in England, but sometimes it can be a little bit of a hindrance, I think, right?
Well, it is, yeah, but we're not exactly posh, are we?
No, we're
like, you know?
not. But when people get to know you, it's
Yeah.
fine. But when they first hear your accent, I don't know. They're a little bit.
Some of them can actually sometimes they go back into themselves, and then they almost sound like an old Radio New Zealand presenter, and they start to talk a little bit like this to you, and you're like, what are you talking like that for? Just keep that accent. It's lovely. Like, don't change.
I've got a brilliant story. When we went down the coast the other day, when we were going to that Sputnik Museum or whatever it's called.
No, there's a steampunk museum.
That's it,
okay,
steampunk
steampunk headquarters. Liz keeps calling it
Sputnik. I thought that's what it's called, but there's this guy, and he's
Not quite the same.
he was an old fisherman guy, and he's standing talking to his mates down at the wharf place, just down from that place, wherever it is.
The slip road.
I can't remember the name of the village though that we went to.
The slipway for the boats. Yeah, and I can't remember the name of it either.
But it was like
it was a gorgeous place.
It was gorgeous, and it's in the middle of nowhere, and we were the only tourists there. And he's talking to his mates about the fish in the water. You know,
as you do.
And I went down. I went, "Oh, hi," and he said, "Oh, g'day." And I said, "Oh, you don't know if this fish and..." Oh, that was it. I was after a fish and chip shop. I said, "You don't know if the fish and chip shop's open, do you?" Yeah. And he went, No, been closed for weeks or whatever. And then he goes, "Oh, where are you from?" And I said, "Oh," and it's horrible because you can't hide your accent.
Yeah.
And you want to try and talk Kiwi, but I can't because I just sound like an idiot if I start talking Kiwi. And I'm not going to pretend. So I said, "Oh, we're from New Plymouth." And he said, "Well, what do you think of the place?" And us, we were like, "Oh, it's gorgeous. You know, we love it. Is there anything you can recommend?" And he said, "Oh, you should go and try it. Go and visit the house up the road," he said. It was like a manor house.
Not Lanark Castle.
Not Lanark Castle, no.
Right.
It was another name of a house.
Yes, it was. It was just literally down the road, on the left-hand side.
And
I remember that one.
And it's a stately home, down
traditional farm it was. But it was an old farmstead, but 1800s.
And he looked at me and he goes, "I think you'd like it there. It's very aristocratic." And I was like, "Oh, have they got pies?"
It's King Henry there.
And I just thought, anyway, that's going off the topic.
I know, but that's the thing, though. I think that's what you like, but then that's where this comes from, isn't it? About things that you're going to miss, but that's what you think you're going to miss is like these things, and that's what the Kiwis obviously think you're going to miss as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like go there because it's aristocratic. Yeah,
I know.
Do. But just that whole homely, welcoming, warm, motherly, unclely. It's just nice. It just feels nice and family and safe, doesn't it, Bri?
It does. Yeah. And one last little tiny thing from me, which I wasn't going to bring this up, but things you won't miss. When I was coming to New Zealand, I was thinking, I'm really going to miss the HP brown sauce.
What's HP stand for?
House of Parliament or Happy, one of the two. Yeah, you're always happy when you've got your HP sauce.
Oh.
And, you can come down here and you can just get it at any supermarket and probably any Foursquare. Brown sauce, HP sauce.
It's important.
It's very important.
It's important,
I
Bri.
thought I was going to miss that.
I can't actually eat a bacon sandwich unless it's got HP sauce on it or scrambled egg.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's a good point.
So there you go. So that's just one little thing.
7.5 points.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Right, I love Dunedin. Thank you so much, Dunedin.
South Island
rocks.
I might just end up moving down here.
I think so. Yeah. I think so, Bri. Yeah.
Even if it's just for 6 months and see what it's like and go, is it really that cold? I don't think
You've kept this secret from us, all you Southerners, haven't you? Hey, I've got a bone
mainland.
to pick with you.
It is the mainland.
Exactly.
It really, really is. Yeah, it is.
Beautiful.
Sure.
Right, go and watch the video then, and we'll see you on the other side.
One last thing.
Oh, God.
There's someone on a Ducati that keeps riding up and down the street. Who is that guy?
We're watching you, Nighthawk.
I'm watching you. Hey, kia kaha, kia u, stay strong, stay true. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast this week. We have loved having you here with us.
If you love this week's show, please share this with your friends. Send it to anybody you know that wants to think about moving to New Zealand and get on over here yourself.
And tell them how brilliant it is as well. And also, if you haven't signed up for our free 5-day video guide showing you what life is really like in New Zealand, then go over to the website and sign up. You are missing out. This is brilliant. Go over to www.nzahead.com/free and we will send you 5 days worth of videos about what life is like in New Zealand. You are going to love it. So one more time, that website that you need to sign up for the free 5-day guide is www.nzahead.com/free. So we're going to see you next week. Until then, have a great week and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Say bye again. Bye.
Bye.